Yes, we are live. Awesome. So if you guys get a little note, please do just say yes, you're happy with it going live into YouTube. So thank you for joining me. Just to give you an idea of how this is going to work, I'm going to talk for about 15 to 20 minutes on today's subject, which is why you're here, to talk about how to nail your book audience. It's one of the most fundamental things because it's no fun writing a book that no one wants to read. So you want to make sure that you get your audience correct. So that way you know exactly what's going to go into your book. And you have that feeling of this is going to be good because people are going to want it. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about for the first 50 to 20 minutes. And then I'm going to open it up to you lovely people and get you to tell me, what are your thoughts about this? Some of you have written books. Did you do this sort of exercise before you wrote those books? Were there any questions you thought, I never thought of asking that, and maybe that would have helped me make a better book? I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Okay. So let me start sharing my screen. Oh, there we go. Yes, we are live. Awesome. So if you guys get a little note, this is interesting. This is when you start seeing yourself 5 seconds ago on YouTube. Okay, just make sure I'm letting everybody in. Is that everybody in? I hope so. Okay, so can you see the screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Awesome, great. Let me start the slideshow. Okay, so I've already gone through our agenda. This is what we're doing. So how to nail your book audience. Welcome, Elsa. Welcome, Peter. Okay, so the first thing is it's all about asking the right questions. And this is something I've noticed a lot of people, they don't realize that they're not asking the right questions. It tends to be that the questions are people tend to focus on demographics. So are you targeting men or women? What age, where are they from? All these typical things. And they're important, but there's none of the deeper questions regarding your audience's needs and wants. The second issue is people start assuming. A lot of people set up brands, businesses, because they themselves are the target audience. Maybe they had an issue that they found nothing on the market that solved that issue. So therefore, they create a product, a program, a service, whatever it is, and they build a business around it. And that's fine. You can use yourself as your target audience. However, there'll still be audiences for you that are not exactly you. So never assume, never think of these exercises as a way of, oh, well, Mitali's told me I need to answer this question, so let me just go and make up an answer. That's not what it's about. If you genuinely don't know the answer to a question, guess what? That is your cue to go and find out. Whether that's putting a poll on LinkedIn or Facebook and surveying your audience, whether if you've got a Facebook group, it's asking members of your Facebook group, asking questions, or even directly ringing past and current clients and asking them these questions. Never, ever assume, because when you assume, this all falls apart, okay? It's really understanding who your audience is so that way you can end up writing the best book possible, one that really resonates with them. So what I'm going to do today is going to go through a few of the deep questions that I get my clients to ask of their audience before they start planning and writing their book. Now, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to scribble down all these questions, please don't worry. One of the perks of you guys coming live to this is I'm going to send you a swipe file, a workbook that will have all these questions and a ton more that you can go through in your own time. So you can just sit back with your cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is you're using to wake up this morning. There's no need to scribble down anything here, okay? So the first question is, what is the big burning question they ask you first? What is the big burning question they ask you first? You know yourself. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. You could be a social entrepreneur. You could be a B Corp founder. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. There'll be one thing that people ask you first. Okay. What is that big question? Because guess what? Your book needs to answer that too. Yes. So for example, for me, the big burning question people ask me is I don't really know if I should write a book. What would be the big thing I get from writing a book? Lots of people want to write a book, but they know it's going to take time and effort and quite possibly money as well. So it's not that the fact they don't want to write a book, but they want to make sure that it's going to give them the return of time, investment, and money. They're going to get return on investment. So that's a big burning question. So guess what? When I wrote my book back in nearly 4 years ago now, that was always in the forefront of my mind, that everything that goes into my book has to be answering that big burning question. Why should I write a book for my ethical, purpose-driven brand? Yes. The second question is, what do they want to know or do? Please, please remember this. A lot of people think if you've had a really interesting life, that somehow loads of people on this planet will want to know about your life. Unless you're Prince Harry or someone really famous, no one gives a damn. Sorry if that bursts your bubble, but it's absolutely true. No one really cares unless you're someone like Prince Harry. And then we definitely want to know what happened with him and the royal family and Meghan and all the rest of it. But otherwise, we don't really care. The reason why people read nonfiction books from non-famous people is because they want to know something or do something, or both. They want to know and then be able to do something. So what is it? What is your audience really wanting to know or do something? Because that is what your book needs to address. The next thing is, what are the 5 common follow-up questions they have? Okay, there'll be follow-up questions. So there'll be the big burning questions. So let me use myself as an example. Big burning question is, why should I write a book? Would it really make a difference? 5 common follow-up questions. Well, the first one would be, I don't know if I've got time. How much time does it take to write a book? Yeah. What the next thing be, what would I do with the book? Like once I publish it, well, what happens after that? I don't really understand it. Just follow it through logically. Think of all the calls that you've had, all the sales calls, strategy calls, client follow-up calls that you've had. Hopefully you do record these calls and maybe even have forms. Go back on those forms and see where the pattern is. And guess what? Your book needs to follow that same pattern. You will see the patterns of behavior in past and current clients and also your general audience. So what are the 5 common follow-up questions that they have? Okay, next thing is, what is specifically holding them back from achieving their desired result and why? There'll be something that they're doing that isn't quite right. Either they're doing it unwittingly, well, most of the time they're doing unwittingly, or that they know they're doing something the hard way, but there's a reason why they're doing it the hard way, and they're resistant to an easier way, than the way you're showing them to do it, or a better way, or a more ethical way. Yeah, what is causing the resistance? I've been vegan it'll be coming up to 12 years, and I'm always still amazed how many people feel resistant. I'm not even judging them when they're saying they're not vegan. It's like, okay, we're all on our journey trying to be better people. So I'm not going to judge people on the journey that they're on. And yet me just saying that I'm vegan seems to create some kind of tension with some people. And I always think, what is it? Or just the fact that I'm vegan, what is that cause? What are you projecting onto me? But I know what it is, because it's making them feel uncomfortable, and maybe they should be better and they should go the whole hog. Especially with vegetarians, I've noticed vegetarians don't seem to like me. Meat eaters seem to be okay with me, but vegetarians seem to be a bit like, almost like me just being present is telling them, you're not going the full way, you're not enough. And I'm not even saying that at all. So think about what specifically that could be, something that I think, oh my God, that's what's holding them back. They feel that they've done enough. And then the fact that they're still consuming dairy makes them feel like resistant, like I've done enough. You're not going to make me feel that I've not done enough. Yes. So think about what is specifically holding your audience back. It could be something in their head. It could be something unwitting. It could be a resistance. What is holding them back? Okay. What myths do they believe that undermine their success? Okay. What problems does that cause? And that feeds into what we were just speaking about before. What myths do they believe? Yeah. So think about it. There'll be myths, there'll be stories that people tell themselves. I certainly know in the plant-based movement, there's a big one about protein. we have to get it from animals. And something that I thought for a very, very long time, because I just thought, well, that's how it is. And that undermined my success because I didn't want to go full vegan, because I just thought, well, I'm going to wither away and die. I'm not going to be able, it's going to affect my health. And that's a myth. It was only afterwards I realized, well, through education, I realized that no, that's not how it works. Animals, if they can magically create protein in their muscles and their tissue, why aren't we doing that? So therefore, it's coming from plants. So what myths do people believe in your audience that undermine their success? These are the myths that you need to debunk in your book. That's what's going to give them light bulb moments. Okay? Do they need to understand everything before giving it a go, or just the next step? This is crucial. This is a really, really big one. Different audiences will act at different points. So, for example, in the health and fitness industry, most people just want to know what is the next thing that they need to do to be slimmer or healthier or whatever it is, whatever their goal is. They don't actually want to know everything. Someone who's wanting to lose a few pounds is not interested in getting a degree in nutrition. Okay. But there's other places where people need to know the entire system before they're willing to take action. Now, why is this important for you? Because if you're in a niche where people need to know the full system or whatever it is that you're teaching, they need to see the whole picture before they take action. Your book needs to have everything in it. However, if you have an audience where they just need to know the next step, by getting that wrong and putting everything in, you're going to cause people to get annoyed with you. There's going to be people who are basic, beginner level, and they're going to feel overwhelmed because you're talking about stuff that's way beyond their comprehension. And you're going to get people who are intermediate or advanced who are then going to give you 1 or 2 stars on Amazon because they're going to say there's lots of basic stuff that they went over. They could have just done that in a few paragraphs and they waffled on for a couple of chapters. Can you see what I mean? So you need to know where to aim your book. So ask yourself, and if you don't know, go and find from your audience, do they need to know everything before they make that step? Or do they need to just know the next step? Okay. Are they disciplined and committed, or disorganized and wavering? This is also a big clue. How can they be held accountable? If you know that your audience is the sort of people that what I call information-led people, they just need the right information. You give them the information and off they go and they do it. They implement. Those people are awesome, by the way. And there are some places where you get audiences like that in some niches, in some industries and sectors. In that case, those books, you can pretty much just give people information, give them some inspiring stories, and then that'll be enough. They will actually go and implement. But a lot of audiences are not like that, particularly in the self-help niche, I would say. There's a reason why we're awash with self-help books, and yet we still, as a species, have so much unhappiness. If you think about it, there are now self-help books on practically everything. So really, right now, we should be walking around with the best careers, the best relationships, the best sex lives. We should just be all angelic right now and just having the time of our life. So why are so many people unhappy? Because we read these books, we think, oh my God, that's really good. And then we put them down and we just get on with our lives and we forget to implement it. The problem is you can read the best self-help book in the world, but if you don't implement, you may as well have not read it. So if you know that your audience are the sort of people who get inspired, but then they're wavering and real life gets in the way, we need to think about what needs to go into a book that holds them accountable. Do you add quizzes? Do you give them exercises to do in the book? Do you get them to go and do something throughout the book, maybe at the end of each chapter or throughout chapters, that will get them to implement what you're teaching them so they can see results? So I hope you can see how you can make your book really solid and a real fan favorite by understanding your audience deeply on whether they are committed or whether they can be wavering. Okay. Now, these are just some of the questions. Now, like I said, you didn't need to write any of this down. I will send you a workbook that goes through these questions. It's a fillable PDF as well. So you can just type directly into the PDF. And it goes through several more deep questions that my clients ask of their audiences before they start to plan and write the book. And then you'll also get another workbook where you take everything that you've put in here and you turn it into a 1-page persona. The reason why I get you to do that, and I get all my clients to do that, is once you've done this, what are the chances of you reading 4 or 5 pages again? Probably not. Whereas if you can condense that into a persona that's just a page long, I've even had some clients who just print this out and they just stick it on the wall where they work. And it means they're constantly aware of who that target person is that their book is reaching. And incidentally, by the way, this doesn't just work for books, this works in general for your business. It's going to make everything so much easier. Think of all the social media content you create. Yeah. Think about blog posts, articles that you write. How much easier is it going to be when you're targeting, you know who that person is that you need to write to? Yeah, so it makes everything so much easier, not just writing a book. And I will make sure I send those over to you. So that was what I wanted to. Let me just stop sharing. Hello, Alice. Hello, Berserker. Hello, Henry. Casey. Hello. Hello, Joanne. Lovely to see you. So let me open it up to the floor. What do you guys think? Is this something you've done before in the past? Maybe not for your book, but for a business. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yes, Abdi.
Thanks, Miss Ali, and hello, everyone. We haven't done this before, first time going through it, so very much being a sponge and kind of looking to understand things. I had a quick follow-up question.
Of
Is
course.
there risk in having more than one persona? So if you had two that are distinctly quite different.
Very good question. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you so much, Abdi. No, there isn't. There isn't, as long as you're aware that that is going to split your communications. So then you will have to do your due diligence there, Abdi, on whether are you able to address both personas in one book? And remember, goes wider than the book as well. Are you able to address these two personas in communications in general, on social media, on your website? Or is it best to split them up in two? I know several entrepreneurs who have the same program or the same service, but they've set it up on two separate websites because the communication is so different. And they're writing books with me at the moment, and they're basically writing one book with slight tweaks, and they're actually creating two books. So that's a very, very good question. There, if you've got two distinct personas, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we need to figure out, and if you wrote a book with me, which you're planning on doing in a few months, Abdi, what we would brainstorm is, are they similar enough for you to put them both into one communication piece? Or is it a case of doing two separate books? But like I said, it's not separate books. You're not writing two books, but tweaking them to fit. Am I making sense?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I would You can have more than one. Where I worry is when people tell me they've got three you can just about get away with. I think as soon as they say 4 or 5, I'm thinking, no. Or the worst thing is when people say, oh, well, everyone can do this. I'm thinking it doesn't really matter if everyone can do this. When you are writing a book, or as I said, beyond that, just targeting your message when it comes to social media, when it comes to online activity. What's that old saying? When you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. You become very, very generalist. It's a bit like if I walk into a bookstore and I see a book on how to lose weight. I'm thinking, great, there's loads of other books on how to lose weight. But if it says how to lose weight for women who are coming into menopause, I think, oh my God, that book might be for me. If it was even further, it's like how Asian women cope with menopause. I'd be like, oh my God, that book is written for me. That's what I need. Can you see what I mean? That's the difference. So two personas is okay. Three, I'm a little bit worried. Four, definitely not. You've gone off. You've gone off on the wrong tangent there. Does that answer your question, Abdi?
It does. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Don't be shy. I am here. Oh, Laura. Someone once said to me, think of Amazon where they started was books and then look at them today, unlike Woolworths, generalists couldn't hold ground and disappeared. Yes, absolutely, Laura. It's I always use the example of Coca-Cola. I don't know why, because I don't like Coca-Cola, but let me use them as an example. Coca-Cola, everyone, well, most people drink Coca-Cola. I don't, because I know they're like cleaning fluid, but a lot of the world does drink Coca-Cola, and they're of all ages. And yet, if you look at the Coca-Cola adverts, apart from the Christmas ones, which are very family orientated, but apart from the Christmas ones, they tend to be all focused on 20 somethings. It's always these cool 20 somethings or rollerblading somewhere always, and they seem to be drinking cans of Coke. The reason why they do that is they know their product is consumed throughout, the children are drinking it, the pensioners are drinking it, and everyone in between. They know that. But how do they, apart from Christmas, when it's meant to be all family, apart from that, they just don't, it doesn't make sense. How do you market Coca-Cola if it's for everyone? It's so difficult, which is why they focus on 20 somethings. And you'll notice that now they focus their marketing on 20 somethings. And just like you said, Laura, yes, Amazon started with books. They could have just said, hey, we'll sell you anything you want. That wouldn't have worked in 2005 when they launched. So they got really good with books. And then now they've got a reputation for being really good, great delivery, great returns process, so simple to use their website. Then they were able to expand. Alice says, same with Wilco. Oh, yeah. My mother was a bit upset about Wilco going under a few weeks ago. She liked Wilco. Maria, what do you think about the follow-up after publishing a book? A friend of mine is overwhelmed with speaking events and promoting side. Oh, bless her. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question, Maria. Okay, so the follow-up is really, really important. And this is something that makes me sad because I think a lot of people they burn themselves out writing and publishing a book. So once they publish, there's this feeling of, I've done my hard work. Now I can sit back and relax. And the thing is, no, that's when the work starts. That's actually when the work starts, because you got to get yourself out there and talk about your book. I'd love to know, Marie. I don't know if you're able to speak. Is she using her book to get these speaking events? How is she? I just guess I want to know how she's leveraging the book. I don't know if you can answer, whether you can type into the chat. Hopefully. Alice says at least she's getting them. Yeah, I mean that's one thing, isn't it? The fact that she's, and I'd love to know whether she's getting these events because she's an author. Yes, it looks like it. So yeah, the advice I would give, Maria, to your friend is, I wonder if she's exhausting herself. Has a book just come out? A lot of people kind of think I need to make hay while the sun shines. The thing is, a well-written and a professionally published book, you can be leveraging for years, a decade later. So the best advice I would give her is, don't burn out. Be kind to yourself. Set yourself a goal. Say you'll only do, say, 2 speaking engagements a month. Say no to the others, and just be aware a book is not, I think it's because we live in such an ephemeral world now, especially with social media. If something is there today and then disappears, not even the following day, within a few hours it's gone, and then there's new content there. Books are not like that. They're more static. So your book is something you can still leverage. My book is, well, the second edition only came out last year, but originally came out nearly 4 years ago. I'm still leveraging my book. It's still getting me speaking engagements and editorials, and I'm still leveraging it. So I would say the best advice I can give you, I hope that makes sense, Marie, is tell her to just, because put it this way, if she burns out and then she can't do any talks for months later, it's just defeated the whole point of it, So tell her from me, if you want, if that makes it better, to give herself a little bit of a break and just say, just calm it down. Just do 1 or 2 a month, she'll be able to do that. And the other wonderful thing is in most industries now, there are changes. She is able to quite quickly and quite cheaply make amendments to a book and then upload again. And now you've got the excuse of saying second edition or third edition, and you start the promotion again. So then if she wants to get some speaking engagements she really wants, she can say, the third edition of my book has just come out. Can you see what I mean? So that's a new way of being able to push what you're talking about, push your message, your mission, because you've got the second edition or the third edition of your book out. So she, even if she wants to go like a whole new book thing, she can just create a new edition. Yeah. Joanne, how do you make sure that a book stands the test of time, especially as you say in such a world which has a quick content turnaround? I think I probably just answered that, really, haven't I, Joanne? But let me know. Please do come off mute if you want, if I didn't understand that. But how do you what the thing is, you can't make a book that's completely evergreen because, as you said, things do change. There are some fundamentals. Again, it depends on which industry you're in. There are some fundamentals that do stand the test of time, but there'll be certain things that change. But don't see that as a bad thing. As I just said before, to advice I would give to Maria's friend, and that is, it's an excuse for you to create a second edition or a third edition. That's awesome, because you actually have an excuse. Do you know how many authors I know would kill for that? Because they've written something that's so evergreen that they don't really need to change it. So now they're trying to think of clever reasons to make their book fresh again. You don't have to do that. You just create a second edition. And like I said, it's reasonably cheap. It's not all that expensive nowadays for you just to tweak and just add a few more paragraphs or just add a new chapter. It doesn't cost that much to create a new version of your book, have it uploaded to Amazon and other platforms that you use, and just get a designer for cheap just to add on second edition, like a banner, second edition on your cover. And then that's it. You don't really, unless you really want to redesign your cover and redesign your book, then it's obviously going to cost you money. But I don't really see why you'd want a book that looked completely different to the first edition. Yeah. Gosh, you guys like chatting on the online chat, don't you? Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for this. I can see I've got a few more questions. And follow up and ask for reviews on Amazon or wherever, ask them to speak about it to their friends. This is so you could go passive and just send out to specific valuable people personal messages. Oh, I love this, Alice. I actually talk about this in my book, The Freedom Master Plan. One of my clients did that. He actually set up his executive coaching business off the back of his book. He created a list of 50 dream people that he wanted to work with. And then he sent a copy of his book with a handwritten note to all these 50 people. 23 of them contacted back and started working with him. So he was able to set up his new business just like that. So that's a really, really good point, Alice. Thank you, Joanne. I hope that's helped you. I really appreciate it. Right. Okay. So as you can see, I love answering these questions. That's why I wrote a whole book on this stuff. And I still love answering all of these questions. So what I'd love to do is that these are the kinds of questions that I love to answer. I'd love to do this individually. Obviously, there's quite a few of us in here, so I'm being able to answer a few more questions. I will hang around, by the way, for another 5-10 minutes. I know I said I was going to finish at 1:45. But I can hang around for an extra 5 or 10 minutes for those of you who want to stick around and you've got a few more questions. But I would love to answer these questions individually for you. And that's kind of exactly what we do on a strategy session. So let me just show you how that works. So let me just share my screen. I don't need to go from the beginning, do I? Here we go. Okay, so these are the kind of results we help get our clients. So we get them to get more referrals. That's a really, really big thing. Referral business is some of the best business that you can have. People tend to be loyal when they come to you as a referral. We get people, where authors get shows We had one author, Isla, with her book. She was given 3 of her own shows, which we were floored with. She's got 3 of her own shows now. You can charge more for your services. I know inside here we're all B Corp, ethical, social entrepreneurs, etc. But money isn't evil. I'm sure you agree with me here. The more money you make, the bigger impact you're making as well. So you want to be able to charge more for what you do and have people value what you do. And then we've got Lillian on the corner here at the bottom. Lillian, by the way, hates sales calls. She can't stand them. She starts sweating. She starts shivering. She can't stand them. Her book, she wrote a book specifically because she wanted to be her proxy. That's her words. She wanted a book to do the selling for her. And that's exactly what it does now. People read a book and then want to speak to her. And by that time, they're about half sold on working with her anyway. So there's different ways of using it, but these are the kinds of results our clients get. And this is our roadmap. This is what we help you with inside the Thought Leader ecosystem. It's all about giving you an exact roadmap for success, so you know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to leverage your book once you're published. And again, these are what I call my Hall of Fame people. These guys have they're stellar. So there's Amanda, who's been in a number of broadsheets, including the Financial Times. Sandra, who I nearly fell off my seat when I saw her. She was on Breakfast TV nationwide in Canada because of her book. So I was very, very proud of her. Luke has written 2 books with me. He's actually coming back in 2024 and threatening to write his 3rd book with me. So he really enjoys it. But he's been in all the papers and doing keynote speaking engagements around Europe now because of his books. Bobby's been able to attract a lot of influencers, which has been fantastic for her. She has a food brand, Read the Ingredients, a whole food, plant-based, clean breakfast item food group. And influencers are now pushing her brand, and that all came about because of her book. So that just gives you an idea of the things that we're doing for our clients. So I'd love for you to join me on a strategy session. What we look at is, first of all, we just look at where you are now. And then we look at where you want to be in 12 months. What are the kinds of impacts you want to be making in 12 months' time? And then we will look at the process that will get you there. Now, we don't know what the process is. And this is the time when we can really delve deep into what it is that you need. And you can ask questions. So you can ask questions that Abdi has asked today and make it personalized for you so you can fully understand what you need to implement to get to where you need to be in 12 months. And only if it's appropriate, it isn't always, I'll be honest with you, only if it's appropriate if I believe that the Thought Leader ecosystem can help you get there in 12 months, then I will show you the program. I'll go through costs. I'll go through everything that you can get in there, and we'll discuss it there. But only if it's appropriate. Just so you're aware that it isn't appropriate for everybody. It's a very, very specific program that suits only certain people. But as far as I'm concerned, I just love to talk to you anyway, even if it isn't suitable. As far as I'm concerned, if I've helped you in some way get a clearer picture of where you want to be in 12 months, then I feel I've done my job. You know, my karma is feeling very shiny. So I'm happy just to have a chat with you and let's just see where you want to be in 12 months. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, we've got a few more. Casey's quite himself on Matali. Thank you, Casey. I hope you got that. Peter, thank you, Natalia. I'm right at the beginning, so your questions really helped me. I have to go now. That's absolutely fine, Peter. He's already gone. Hope to catch you soon. Any other questions? We still got about 7-8 minutes. So any other questions? Did I miss one in the chat? Are you guys all tired and you got croaky throats and you thought you just put it into the chat instead of speaking with me? I know what it feels like. I'm not a morning person either. I've got SAD, but I'm still able to.
Natalie.
Hello, Laura. How are you doing, my love?
I'm okay. We're all afraid. We don't want to use our voices.
Trust me. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting. If you're going to come regularly to this, you will see what I call the deterioration of Matali over the next I do have seasonal affective disorder. I needed to be on quite heavy medication every winter to cope with it. From the age of 33, I stopped taking medication, and I do it now from doing things like this, like being ultra healthy as much as I can be, walking on a treadmill, keeping my serotonin levels up without using medication. But you will see a deterioration in me over the next few weeks as it gets darker and darker. So honestly, please don't be scared, because don't be scared. Any more questions? I have breakfast hair.
Me too.
I've never heard that saying before. I'm going to use that. I've got breakfast hair. Okay, me too. Oh, Abdi. If only to have your problems, eh? Anna Breeze.
The thing I was going to say, Mitali, was that I think for me, I've like written, I know you're going to send it out, but I've written down lots of those questions and lots of thoughts from my perspective.
Yeah.
I guess it's almost like I need to take a step back to consider all of it before I can come and give you questions.
Yes, but that's what I mean, and that's what I will send you. You'll all get the swipes, you'll get the workbooks, and take your time going through that. Please do take your time. And as I said, the worst thing you can do is assume and answer it because you think you know the answer. Yeah. And I actually tend to find the people who've been in business for longer make that mistake more than people who've been in business for not very long. There's this assumption that I really understand my audience. Okay, but you've got to keep checking back with your audience. It's a bit like relationships. If you look at long-term relationships, when they work, it's because those two people in that relationship are constantly seeking feedback from each other. They don't assume, oh, we've been together for 20 years, so I know you in and out, inside out now, and I don't need to care anymore. It's the ones who constantly keep checking in with their partner and learning about their partner. They're the ones who have successful long-term relationships. So it's the same thing when it comes to a business or a brand or an organization and its audience. So if you're not 100% sure answering one of the questions, Laura, or anybody here, ask your audience. This is a perfect excuse to stick a poll on LinkedIn or ask your group, or, a perfect excuse to start ringing past clients. And you never know, while you're having questions, you might be able to pitch them new things that you're doing as well. But it's a great way for you to actually just speak to people and gather that information. Save one for me. I don't know what that was for, Alice. Hi, my audio's off, doesn't work. It's so good to be here. I'm baking cookies, so I have to take care not to. I think I want to see you cooking, to be honest, Berserker. But cookies. Or save one for. Okay, now that makes sense. Okay, I was thinking about that. Okay, did I miss any questions? No? Any other questions are coming in? So I just want to say I would love to speak to you individually. I know I've already had a chat with you, Adrian. We've been on a strategy session, and I hope you found that really useful. I loved talking to you. Adrian is going to write about neurodivergencies and how that correlates with social entrepreneurship. I mean,
just to kind of butt in, Mitali, sorry, Mitali and I had a kind of one of those kind of special conversations that she's referred to a few moments ago. I can highly recommend it. It was really useful structure and flow and format, just for me to have a really good critical friend perspective on some of the thinking that I've been doing to date about it. And she's very generous.
Not even paying him, by the way, guys. Well, so. Thank you so much, Adrian. That was. I'll send you a.
We didn't agree that before, by the way.
So yes, so what I'll do, let me just go back to let me start sharing my screen again. So I'll just show you how you can do that. So all you have to do is, in fact, let me actually put this into the chat. That would make sense, wouldn't it? There we go. So that's a link. So if you click on that, let me share my screen again. You should come to here. And then you just, I'm sure most of you know how to use Calendly. It's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, you just click on whichever works best. I've only got a few slots left this week. There's a few more in the following weeks. Thursdays and Fridays tend to be the best days for me. I tend to do a lot of teaching and a lot of client work on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. But yeah, book yourself in. I would love to speak to you. And like I said, it's really just to get an understanding of where you are, where you want to be. And only if the thought leader ecosystem works for you, then I'll show you. But it could be that it doesn't. That's absolutely fine as well. But at least I feel like I've done my part and I've helped you, set you on the right path to make a bigger impact. Okay. Do we have any more? I'm just going to quickly check through and make sure I didn't miss anything. You guys are getting me. I'm talking, doing slides, walking, and you want me to read as well. So you're asking me to do a lot this morning, but let me just make sure.
I have one question,
Abdi.
if possible.
Yes, sorry, Abdi, please go.
No worries. I guess it was just a very quick follow-up question to the strategy session. So, as I say, you know, we're planning to kind of chat with you in the new year, but the book we're writing is going to be a co-authored thing with our team, of which basically means there's more than one person. So, is that possible with the strategy sessions, or is that kind of something that just for you is, I guess, kind of annoying and a bit overwhelming, maybe with 10 different people on a call or something like that? But yeah, I guess kind of just a loose question around that.
It's actually not, Abdi. I'm actually looking forward to that because this is going to be a new one. I worked with 3 people who collaborated on a book together, but there's going to be 10 of you, Abdi. So this is going to be interesting for me because that's going to be. Bye, Maria. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you soon. So that's going to be interesting for me. No, it doesn't worry me. Here's what I think about collaboration projects when it comes to books. Actually, collaboration of any kind, not just books, in business in general. You've heard of the saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. But that only happens when there isn't a structure in place. When there's a structure in place, there's another saying, which is many hands make light work. And that's what we're aiming for. So when we went through our strategy call, if you remember, I showed you how we mind map our methodology. That's what we'd be doing with you. We'd be getting you to mind map. And then you, even on the mind map, you'd be able to say, oh, this bit, I want this person to write that because that is their expertise. On this section of the mind map, I want this person on my team to write that. If you give people if you can give people exactly what they need to do, then it really is a case of many hands make light work. And it should be that your book's going to come together very, very fast because we're being very organized about it. Where things go wrong is, the other saying, which is, too many cooks spoil the broth, is because the cooks have not been ascertained the things that they need to be doing. So they're all stepping on each other's toes and that's causing problems. So that's not going to happen with us because we're going to make sure you're going to be, there needs to be a lead. I hope that's okay. You would need to be the lead of your book. We can't have 10 leaders because then it's going to go crazily awry then. So is that okay, Abdi? Would you be like the main leader, the main person who would structure it, but then you'd want different people to write sections of it? Is that correct?
I think that's kind of pretty much how we're thinking, and we already have somewhat of a loose structure that we're sort of defining a little bit more, but it's pretty much what we had in mind anyway. So
fantastic. So yeah, I mean they can be on the call, but to be honest, in the planning phases, they can be on the call, but a lot of the call is going to be mainly you because we need to work out what the main structure of the book is. Once that is done, it's just a case of you farming out the different bits to different people. I'm sure you do that in your business as well, Abdi. If you're a successful business owner, and like that only happens when you're able to manage a team effectively. So you'll know how important it is to give very strict, this is what you need to do. That's how businesses run well. Otherwise, again, you have those issues of people stepping on each other's toes and it causes problems within the business. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. It's quite in sabotage. My question on read. Okay, I think that's everything. Okay, thank you so much, guys. I am able to stick around for a few more minutes if there are any other questions. If you're being a bit shy, if you're thinking there's too many people in this room. Once everyone is gone, if you want to speak to me, it's absolutely fine. Yes. Any other questions? No. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming this morning. I really appreciate this. As this is my first Thought Leader Author Forum. There's going to be one every week now. As I said, you're going to see the deterioration of Mitali as I go into winter. So that's going to be interesting for you guys. But yes, so if you can come next week. Next is going to be an interesting one. It's something that I've put together with my mentors. because they're kind of helping me slowly become a thought leader. And it's quite insightful. It's going to be an insightful, yeah, it's going to be an insightful forum next week. I'll be able to give you some specific questions that you can ask yourself to find out whether you have what it takes to be a thought leader. And there is a difference. By the way, everybody here in this room, because I only work with genuinely purpose-driven people, I have to be careful using the word purpose-driven because it has been taken out of context. And now everyone is purpose-driven and everyone is mission-driven. You'll notice this on LinkedIn, and it's really annoying. But I genuinely work with people who have a positive mission. So social entrepreneurs, B Corp founders, ethical business owners, sustainability practitioners. So everyone here is making a brilliant impact anyway. But to go to that next level and be seen as a thought leader, there are certain things that are necessary in your personality to be able to do that. So join me next week and we'll go through that. And then you'll be able to work out whether you have what it takes to be a thought leader. Any more final questions before I go? We're now gone past time, about 4 minutes, but I can stick around for a little bit longer. But if not, thank you so much for coming. And I hope to see as many of you as possible next week. Thank you for joining me. I'll make sure I send everything out by the end of the day as well, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Henry.